Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! So this actually happened to my husband the other day, but I thought you'd all get a kick out of it. Background. So we live in an area with a high number of old folks and small children. The main road, winding and full of curves, tends to be full of people walking up and down, no sidewalks. It's one lane to go up, one lane to go down, and a grass median between the two. Lately, people have been whipping up and down this road, so speed bumps were being installed, sectioning off certain parts of the road while they get poured and painted. The story. So my son is developmentally behind and needs to see specialists, which means that even with a pandemic he needs to go in person. My husband was on his way to pick him up from the specialist, driving slowly over the new speed bumps with a few cars following behind him. As he turned the corner, there were suddenly headlights in his face as a Mercedes charged up at him. Naturally, he stomped on the brakes and prayed. Our 1-year-old was in the car too. The cars behind were able to stop without anyone crashing, but that Mercedes charged up to about an inch from his hood. Enter Karen. After laying on a horn, the driver of the Mercedes gets out, an older high society kind of Karen that has her nose so high in the air she's liable to catch butterflies when she runs. She takes one look at our slightly beat up van and decides Hoppy isn't worth treating as human. Move your car. I have the right of way and you're blocking me. Actually, you're driving on the wrong side of the road. Listen, there is cars behind me, so moving will be difficult. This lane is wide here. Why don't you scoot your car over and we can both pass? Move your car, or I'm calling the cops. Husband, having had quite enough? I'll do you a favor and call for you. The people in the cars behind yell, just move, lady. So Hoppy calls a non-emergency line, putting the call on the car speaker and turning it all the way up. He explains the situation to the younger operator, who legit said, "Let me guess, the lady's name is Karen? Alright, I'll send an officer." Y'all, this lady was the embodiment of smugness when that officer car showed up. He walked over to my husband to get the full story, then walked back to Karen, and the look on her face when cuffs came out was just priceless. Hoppy snapped a picture. You see, besides blocking traffic, reckless driving, and driving to endanger, she was also getting charged with child endangerment. The police officer had definitely noticed the 1-year-old in our backseat singing his little head off, and he noticed how close that Mercedes had come to ramming the van head-on. At the end of talking to my husband, the officer had asked Hoppy if he'd like to testify against her in court. No idea if it will pan out, but good thoughts. This happened while I was in high school. I was 17 at the time and my brother was 15. We both play tennis and play for our high school. My dad trains us on weekends. One weekend, my dad was training my brother and I as usual. We noticed a drone flying over and thought it was cool at first. It wasn't flying close to us, so we didn't care. We didn't see the operator anywhere, so we just assumed he was in a grassland next to the courts. As time went on, the drone got closer to us and made it a bit difficult to concentrate, but we still managed. My dad had my brother and I play best 3 out of 5, and that's when the drone got annoying and it was constantly flying around both sides of the court. We were having a hard time keeping the ball away from it, and then it happened. The drone was too low to the court. My brother was hitting the ball, then it hit the drone. We were both freaking out and scared. Our dad was inside the pro shop, so we shouted for him and waved. He came out and saw the drone. I was freaking out, and so was our brother. We heard the man shout, "Are you kidding me?" And that's when we knew this was going to be trouble. He was walking around all the courts trying to find the drone. Apparently he was just walking onto the road in the middle of people's games. This is a big no-no. It's also just plain rude. Well, he found a drone on our court and just walked right on it without warning. We had to stop our game so we wouldn't get hit. That's when hell broke loose. He says, "Do you know what you idiots have done?" Hey man, that wasn't our fault. You're the one flying it over a tennis court. That's why you play around it. Do you know how much this thing costs? Bro tells him, "We don't care. We tried to avoid it, but couldn't. You were careless enough to put it in harm's way. It was like you were asking for someone to hit it." The three of us were arguing, and that was when my dad noticed us yelling and arguing. As my dad was approaching the court, he had a racket in his hand. The dude began to call me obscenities. "You stupid witch. Women are too stupid to understand when they are in the wrong. A witch like you should just stick to sucking off other guys." Dad tells him, "Sir, what did you say to my daughter?" "This is your daughter? You let her dress like a witch? Some father you are." I was wearing Spanx and a baggy t-shirt. "Why are you looking at her bottom half anyways? She's an athlete. She has to wear clothes that will allow her to move around. And if you call her a witch one more time, you're gonna get it." "Oh, I am so scared. The big scary dad is going to protect his witchy daughter." My dad hit the dude in the shin with his racket. If you've gotten hit in the shins by a racket accidentally or on purpose, the thing hurts. The dude was on the floor and my dad bent down to his level and told him to book it. The dude got his drone and walked towards the pro shop. Maybe like 10 minutes later the cops have arrived. The dude called the cops on the three of us, claiming we purposely destroyed his drone. Cop says, "Hello kids, how are you doing today?" "We're fine, just trying to practice." "Is everything alright?" "Yes. A gentleman in a shop called us out here. He said that you guys destroyed his drone and had your dad beat him." My dad explained everything and admitted to hitting the guy in the shin with his racket. He even mentioned the camera on a drone and on the tennis courts. "Thanks for letting us know what happened. Can you follow us to the shop? We want to review all of the footage." We gathered our things and met them inside. The dude was on the couch being a grouch and downloading the footage he had from the drone onto his laptop for the cops to see. Apparently he got fined because he didn't have a license and certification to fly a drone. They take the laptop into the office where the security monitors are. They watched all the footage they needed. The cop asks me, "Young lady, how old are you?" "I just turned 17. Why?" Both cops look at each other and exchange looks. The first one puts the entitled dude in cuffs and tells him he's under arrest. I was assuming it was because he might have been flying his drone illegally or something like that. But the cop says, "Miss, I am not sure how to say this, but this dude was recording your backside. Would you like to press charges?" My face lit up like a Christmas tree. I was embarrassed and enraged. I couldn't speak. Words wouldn't form out of my mouth. My dad was mad, like big mad. He looked like he was ready to rip the guy's head off. Dad says, "Press charges against him. He's a pedophile." One cop says to the other, "You heard them, bud." The other cop escorted the entitled dude to the squad car, and the other one got statements from the three of us. I was trying to hold back my tears. I was so mad. My dad and brother both gave me a hug and I bursted into tears. He drove us home and called my mom and told her what happened. She drove over with my sisters and dogs and just comforted me. The entitled dude was sent to jail. Not sure for how long, but the thought of what happened still haunts me. I was reminded of this crazy psycho Karen a few hours ago, while reading about a person who used German to communicate with a crazy Karen. This event happened maybe 15 or so years ago, but many of the events are still very clear in my mind. Not because of how traumatic it was, but mostly due to the fact that I had to play it out to the bitter end. It took a lot of self-control and discipline to keep up the ruse, but the end result still makes me laugh to this day. I will admit, this was not one of the finer moments in my lifetime, but I still see it as a learning event for everyone involved. I am fairly good at sign language. I really learned it while doing a summer school/computer camp for some deaf and blind children. I took a course before the class so I could learn the basics aside from the normal alphabet. By the end of the summer, I have become very good at signing and understanding whole conversations and could communicate very well with my students. I personally think that I learned way more than them and they learned from me. But that is a story for the wholesome side of Reddit. Who knows? Maybe I will write about it sometime. But this is not a wholesome story. This is about a crazy psycho nut job who let her entitlement land her in the back of a cop car. It all happened while I was at Kmart. I was there looking for a specific item. I don't recall exactly what it was at this time. It's really not important to the story. I was putting some things back on a shelf that I had moved when I heard, ahem, that sound someone makes to clear their throat. I just ignored it. I recall just not wanting to deal with people that day. So someone trying to get my attention was not top of my list. The noise was made again, only louder and more determined. Ahem. And I continue to ignore her. Excuse me? I still don't respond. I can hear the foot tapping, so I haven't completed what I was doing, start to move away. It was at this time she grabbed my arm. She pulls my arm to turn me around to face her. Excuse me, I'm talking to you. Me, startled, let out a quick yelp and sign, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. What are you doing? I'm trying to talk to you. Do you know how rude you are? Me, signing, I'm sorry, I'm deaf and did not hear you, but you have no right to grab me. Please leave me alone. What are you doing? Stop waving your hand around. Are you doing gang signs to intimidate me? Stop it right now. At this point, her yelling was drawing the attention of several customers as well as the store manager. A normal person tells her, I'm sorry ma'am, but I don't think he can hear you. He's trying to use sign language. Store manager also tells her, ma'am, could you please come over here and leave him alone? No, he's flashing gang signs to try to intimidate me. Call the police. He's in a gang. I want the cops here right now. He grabs onto my arm and will now not let go. I'll tell you, this woman had a grip. Not even my mother had a grip like this woman. My mother was a farm girl. She grabbed and held on so tight. Her fingernails actually dug into my arm and left some good bruises. She would not let go and continued to demand the police. The customers and the manager are all trying to get her to let go. She just would not let me out of her grip. This went on for several minutes of me trying to pull away, her screaming and other customers trying to separate us. I can only figure someone called the cops. I don't know how long it was, it seemed like a while, but it could have been a few minutes. When you have a crazy lady tearing your arm up, the passing of time seems to take longer. 3 officers show up. Thank you, Lord. One of them tells her, let him go. Stop screaming and settle down. I want him arrested. He was flashing gang signs and intimidating me. He was threatening me. Me moving away from the area as quickly as possible, the manager standing between me and the crazy lady. A couple of minutes passed by. They had to put her in cuffs before she actually started to talk with them in a coherent manner. When things started to settle down, one of the officers came over to me and asked what was going on. I should have come clean at this moment, but I couldn't give up on this. I'm pretty much committed to the whole deaf thing now. If I'm anything, I am not a quitter. I started signing to the officer who then realized I was deaf. He pulls out his notepad and pen and then gestures to write what happened. Me, writing. I was shopping and this lady grabbed my arm and spun me around. I tried to tell her that I can't hear. She then grabbed me harder and started screaming. Everyone was trying to help, but she wouldn't let go. I just want to go home. She's crazy. She really hurt my arm. I point out my arm, at which point the officer sees the gouge marks and the bruising starting to show up. He then walks me over to the crazy lady. Hey, do you see how bad you hurt him? He has no idea why you were grabbing him. He can't hear. He's deaf. He was signing to you. What kind of person are you? The look on her face was totally worth the pain and suffering. She then starts babbling. Well, I didn't know. How am I supposed to know sign language? All he had to do was talk to me. It's not my fault. They should have people to help them. They escort her out to the patrol car and close the door. They take my statement and several other statements from the other people in the store manager, and ask for video footage if available. I am told I can head home, and I get in my car and start laughing as I drive away, knowing that I'm a complete jerk for what I did and that I likely destroyed someone's life. The aftermath. She was charged with assault of a disabled person and creating a public disturbance. From the statements, the video footage, and the pictures of my bruised arm, her lawyers ended up pleading down to assault of a disabled person and working out no jail time, a $1,600 fine and 450 hours of community service. I was sent a notice from the court about the plea deal. In my state, if a disabled person is attacked, they must notify and inform. I also have the option to say if it's acceptable or if I feel the deal is not fair. This is used to help the judge make a more informed decision. As I didn't want to take my chances of sitting in a courtroom, I signed the paper and returned it to the court. Yes, I know this whole situation looks bad. And at the time I was in my early 20s, so I didn't really care or think much about it. At the time I just wanted to teach her a lesson about how to treat people. I know now how much of a jerk I was, but I still can't feel that if it were not me, what if it was one of my students? Or some other deaf person who she attacked. That's ultimately what mattered to me at the time. This was in 2008. I was working a second job at our local small grocery and butcher shop. I was doing so a few nights a week to pay for my kids' activities. I was hired as a cashier. The person that did the end-of-the-day butcher shop cleanup / sanitizing quit. So instead of hiring someone to clean up, the owners decided that the cashiers would just do it between customers. The owner sat at their office watching TV and fooling around. When a customer came in, doorbell would ring, they would buzz a phone in the butcher area for the cashier to come check them out. When I came in for my shift at 6 p.m., I was told about the new setup. I told him no. I was not hired to clean up the butcher area. I was hired to run the register and stock shelves. The owner then said I would clean the butcher shop or I could consider myself fired, and they walked away. I said fine. I grabbed my things and left. Apparently the owner thought I had given. I was in doing the cleaning. So they buzzed the butcher area when customers came in for about 2 hours before someone told them no one was coming to check them out. The store's liquor area, cigarettes and scratchers got emptied out. It was 7:30 and I got a screaming phone call from the owner about how he was calling the police and I was going to get arrested. Yeah, right. Owner did call the police. The owner stated he wanted me arrested as an accomplice to the thefts because, well, I had left. Cops asked me to come to the store, which I did, and I explained that the owner had fired me. So I went home, and the CCTV would prove that fact. The tape was reviewed, and plain as day the owner said that I was fired. I estimate they lost about $30,000 that day. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.